morning. It's Viewpoint. It's Wednesday, September 21st. Mrs. Busby, perhaps we should substitute our theme song, the Nat King Cole, Unforgettable. During the month of September, we should probably play September song.
That's an oldie but goodie.
Oh, yeah.
Just like us, Bill.
Oh, well, I'm not certain that I could have come up with that this morning. But,
well, it's early.
The interesting thing about that September song is that you're not in that category yet, but you're approaching. And neither is Mr. Donut in that category. But there's a certain age when that starts to have a little more meaning.
Oh, well,
you'll get there someday.
I have arrived.
All right.
It's
well,
nice to know.
We have a guest that we're going to introduce here right away. We're glad to have him with us again. We always start with kudos. And this morning, I'm going to defer, Jim, to Mrs. Ash, or I don't think I'll refer to Mrs. Ash. She's busy at school. Mrs. Busby this morning for our Wednesday morning kudo.
Yes, I was hoping that Kathy Vineyard, here, who lives and works here in Lincoln, would be able to come for a few minutes by phone today. She belongs to a group called From the Ground Up, and if you'll recall last spring, the beautiful tulips all over town.
Yeah, really looked neat.
Oh gosh, yes. From the Ground Up was the outfit responsible for that. And they are not only responsible for that, but lots and lots of other betterment things for the community. And it's a small group. They only have about 10, and she assured me that there's no pressure in their group. She lets them know that Saturday we're going to do this, and if they can, they come. Mm-hmm. And they, for instance, went uptown to both parks, Latham Park and Scully Park, and painted the picnic tables and benches.
Yeah,
just out of the goodness of their heart, all this is. Okay, and all the tulips all over town in the parks, and
they didn't just grow.
They didn't just happen to pop up.
Somebody had put those bulbs in there.
I was hoping that's how gardening worked, but Kathy assures me that's not the case. And Allison Park out in Mayfair, you know, they're working on that now, and Jeff Heineke and Marty Neitzel have given them some money, from the ground up, some money to buy tulips and plantings for that park, which they've got all cleaned up and ready to go. And they are the ones who began the community garden, you know, that's uptown.
Yeah, right on Golden Street there.
The lamp posts uptown, the street light posts, they painted all of those. And they added more of the planters around the square and planted them. And in any vacant stores that there are uptown, they have local artwork from local people who are adept at art, all the way from children up to people our age. And anyway, they have this art in the windows in these vacant storefronts.
So that's how that happens.
Yes. See, nothing just happens. Everything has to be planned and everything has to be worked on. And From the Ground Up does the work. And what a great thing they're doing for this community.
Yeah, no kidding.
And they now have their bulbs, because it's bulb planting time, of course. And you can get 100 bulbs from them for $15 to plant. That was pretty cheap.
I guess.
Yeah, to plant in any of the common areas in the community, you know. And also, they could use more members. They do have some of their volunteers from the high school, the volleyball team.
Really?
Has the girls volleyball team help them with the plantings and things.
Okay, there's a good example for young people.
An excellent example. And these people who work From the Ground Up, their membership do this as a family thing and bring their children and husbands and do this together, whether it's the painting or the planting or whatever other project they're into. And if anybody would be interested, Kathy works for the city is one of her 2 jobs. I don't know when the woman sleeps. I think she's foregone that.
Yeah.
And she works at the Building and Safety Office uptown, and the number is 26318 if you'd like to be a part of their group. Maybe you'd like to make a donation. Maybe you'd like to be a member. Maybe you'd just like to get some bulbs to plant. And this price that they offer the bulbs at is just a tad below cost. There's some cents over the $15, but she and her husband take care of that so they can make it an even number. So these people, I think it's just admirable, the people who step up to the plate, and by golly, they did.
They're citywide. We have Troy Hanger and Norm Newhouse in our immediate neighborhood. That's expanded citywide.
Kathy's group is kind of spread it out, you betcha.
Well, Jim, that probably the longest kudo on record here for Viewpoint, and probably the best deserved.
Well,
I think that's really neat.
Yeah, excuse me for being motor mouth, but
Why don't
that
you do that? You're 51%, you know.
That just really requires some time. I think it's so wonderful. And as far as the girls volleyball team stepping up too, Lincoln Christian University requires that the students in, I don't know that it's all of their programs, it can't be, but in some of their programs, do X number of hours of volunteer work per semester. And I have some of these young people who are volunteering at the hospital. And I think that's a good idea. There are school districts that require, as a graduation requirement, that each student do some volunteer work, do something. And I think that's a darn good idea.
Well, down the road they'll become Bill Donuts,
Yes.
Volunteering for the community. And, my mantra, you put something on the bar beside your elbow.
And I like that mantra.
There's another one, Billy, that I use once in a while. Put it on my letterhead. Don't go through life with a catcher's mitt on both hands. Throw something back. So, and that's really this that you refer to, or to which you refer, not leaving a dangling preposition out there.
Don't participle. It's participles we dangle. Or chads. I think we have chads too, don't we?
To be serious, it's a great example for the young people, and it's neat to have the high school youngsters involved, and these college youngsters to which you refer. Well, why don't you introduce our guest, who is also a great volunteer for the community, and the results of his efforts inure to the benefit of those who are coming behind us.
Oh, this is most certainly true. And
Frog jumped in there, Bill. It'll get out sometime between now and 9 o'clock.
Bill Donath is our guest today, and he kind of is the Genealogical Society. He puts in a lot of time, and his pay is a bit below minimum wage for this job, isn't it, Bill?
And it gets doubled every year.
It gets doubled every year. I like that. Very good. So we're going to talk not only about the local Genealogical Society, but about Bill's second book that he's just written. And it's about the Civil War and the people from here who participated in the Civil War. And that, I don't think that until we see a listing such as yours, Bill, we understand the magnitude of that war. The people, the percentage of the people who gave their lives was a substantial group from the United States of America. It was a bloodbath, and eye to eye. They didn't have airplanes, obviously. It was hand to mouth.
And that's true. The book you referred to is titled Logan County, Illinois Civil War Dead, The Monument, Dedication, and History. Many people don't know that the Civil War monument on the courthouse square was dedicated to those who died during the war, and it was put up in 1869. So relatively close following the close of the war.
Shortly
it was
thereafter,
put up.
yes.
And we've totaled 444 men who served through Logan County or from Logan County who died during that war out of about 2,200 who went off the war. So you're talking 1 in 5 who died.
20%.
Yeah.
And the main killer was diseases. About 3/4 of those who died of disease. We didn't have the medical wherewithal back then that we have nowadays, and those who died of wounds or in battle or as prisoners of war were about 1/4 of those who passed. So when we owe an awful lot to those folks, and we need to keep recognizing them, and that's why the new statue was installed in April and dedicated in April to keep that memory going.
Let's go back, if you could and would, to the first establishment of this statue. And that was in 1869.
Yes.
4 years after the war.
Actually, the committee that started that started in 1867. They came up with the idea of putting up this memorial, and they were the men who went and fought. They came home and recognized the need to honor these dead and formed their committee. Took 2 years, just like we did, to get the monument up and then a dedication. And they were fortunate enough to get General and Governor Richard Oglesby to do the dedication address at that time. So it was a pretty big deal.
Do you have any idea what the cost was of the first statue?
It approximated about $6,000.
Which was a pile of
dollars in
money.
those times. Yeah.
Dollars in
pretty expensive.
1860s. That was very expensive. That was very expensive. It was a marble statue, and the base and pedestal were all marble, so it's worn away. You know, in 2008, the statue was knocked down by a storm because it had been weakened by erosion.
And in your book, you have a picture of it lying in parts on the sidewalk.
It fell.
And when did this the effort for restoration of that statue begin, Bill?
Well, folks had noticed the deterioration early on, before it fell. Sonny Sullivan and Paul Gleason, Joanne Marlin were all aware of that deterioration, and I became aware of it when I was photographing the statue for my book, and got some close-up photos of the statue itself and saw that half the face was gone and many of the details were gone. It was just eroded away, and I could tell that it wasn't going to last much longer in the condition it was in. So Paul and Sonny and Joanne had already started talking to other folks about it in the county board, and I jumped on board as soon as I could because I could see that the need was there to do something with it. Well, Mother Nature got ahead of us and knocked it down, and we went from there. So, and a large group of people were formed as a committee to replace the statue.
And then, once you had your committee established, what route did they take for this restoration?
Well, we met and discussed whether it should be stone again, whether it should be bronze, and we had people come in and give us the evaluation of both types of material.
Cost
and the
longevity
cost and all
so
that
forth.
sort of stuff. And early on, we had a fellow come in, and the cost of the bronze statue was going to be $80,000, and we said, no, we can't do that. We better start talking stone. And then a little bit later, we had some folks come in, and the price of bronze was half, less than half of the original estimates.
How did that happen?
Just difference between artists. Some people have a bigger name than others, and we knew the fellow who ended up doing the statue, and he had restored the Indian mother on the courthouse grounds. So he was well known to us already, and he came in and gave us an estimate that we couldn't resist for the bronze. So and we had a lot of discussion on the material, which should be used, and we eventually decided on the bronze.
Was it basically the Genealogical Society in conjunction with the county board that
In
did
conjunction
this?
with the county board started the committee. The committee needed an agent who could accept donations that would be tax exempt for the organizations or individuals who wanted to donate to the project. And we had our 501c3 already in place, and we were a historical society, so it fit right in with what we were already doing.
Right.
And we adopted the committee as well, and went from there. So, in 2 years of meetings and all the trips to the foundries and the artists, and so it was an interesting experience. We did that.
Where did you even go to begin this list of the Civil War dead? Because it's a very long list.
Well, the list originally was from the county histories.
Like
Colonel
Judge
Latham,
Stringer's?
Stringer, his 1911 history of Logan County, and Colonel Latham's, Robert Latham's 1878 county history. And they had a very thorough list of the men who served from Logan County that they knew of at that time. Well, many other sources have come online since then. Ancestry.com is one. The state archives have an excellent resource online for getting information about the men who served. And I searched all that with the communities in Logan County that I knew, and the townships, actually at that time precincts. There were 9 precincts at that time, and the townships didn't form until after the war, or late in the war. So ran all those through those sites to collect the names of all the folks who served from Logan County or who went from Logan County somewhere else to serve. There was a group from Atlanta of about 8 guys that went down to Missouri and joined up down there on the Union side. And they served Missouri units down there. And there were Michigan, guys that were drafted in Michigan or Pennsylvania and served from Logan County because they had just moved here with their families and got drafted back there because they hadn't changed their residence yet.
There was a draft in the Civil War. That might sound really stupid to you, but I was thinking about the program this morning, and I thought, I wondered if they even had a draft.
They did establish a draft. It was never applied to Logan County because there were always enough volunteers from Logan County to fulfill the quotas, and there was the draft was never used in Logan County.
And you know, I suspect, particularly here in Logan County, a substantial proportion of those young men who saw the call, heard the call, came off of farmland.
Exactly. It was an agricultural society at that time, and of the 444 dead listed on the monument, 395 were farm kids.
Think of that. Just think of that. Now, you know, Judge, I'm sitting here thinking, going back to our volunteerism theme that we alluded to earlier in the program, here's a good example of some people, some citizens in the community, perceived a need, and instead of just talking about it and thinking about it, somebody acted. And now we have a wonderful restoration of that statue down in the courthouse, and it's really a neat thing.
The largest number of volunteers during the war were in the 106th Infantry, which was formed in April of 1862, and Robert Latham was the colonel for that, and there were probably between 800 and 900 Logan County men in that regiment. It was called the Logan Regiment. Regiment usually is made up of 10 companies of 100 each.
That's a lot.
That's a lot. And two of the companies one came out of Menard County and one came out of Sangamon County.
What were the ages of these men?
Anywhere from 17 to 67 was the oldest volunteer from Lincoln.
67. And
He
that's,
was,
and that time, that's an old person.
That was a very old person. And he eventually died during the war due to exposure at the battles of Fort Donelson and Shiloh. And he, sleeping out in the cold and the snow and the rain, he finally succumbed, and he's one on the list.
But at that point in time, he had exceeded the given lifespan of folks of that time.
Yes.
By a fair amount, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
But probably the next oldest guy was probably 45, which was
That's quite a span.
which is still quite a good age for that period of time.
I'm surprised to hear you say that these people went to Missouri and signed up on the Union side. I would have thought that would be the Confederate.
Well, it was divided. It was a border state. It did not. It was one of those areas where it was half and half. Logan County was kind of half and half on the Civil War, because half of the people had come from the South and half had come from the northern states, and so it was a divided thing. There was a lot of discussion about that in the old Lincoln Herald during that period of time too. So.
You know, most of us when we were in school, maybe not most, some of us, certainly me being included, kind of slogged our way through history because it was mandatory that we take this course and that course. It's too bad that you have to get to be a little older, or in my case, a lot older, to appreciate the depth of history and it's what it impacts as the years roll on.
Exactly.
What those folks did back there is incredible.
Yeah, we need to think about if the sequence of events that make us what we are were just a little different.
Yeah.
It would make major differences in our lives. And for those folks who went off and did that fighting, thank you, thank you, thank you for giving us what we've got. You know, even in your own families. You know, we had a program Monday night at the Genealogy Center on black sheep in the family and what you do with them. And it was kind of fun. A lot of people started talking about the things that happened in their families. And you stop to think about, you know, if that sequence of events hadn't happened the way it was, you wouldn't be where you are now.
Today, right.
And it's unfortunate that some of the people in the past had to go through those things. But
I don't think it's embarrassing at all, though. My brother got a history of my Grandpa Tom's side of the family. And when they were still in Norway, they had some things that I'm sure the neighbors frowned upon. But everybody, if they have a chance to look back, will find some characters that are much more colorful than they are themselves.
Exactly.
Well, yeah, there was Ken.
There was Ken. Yes, there was. God love him.
Judy's dad.
He was, well, he was Grandpa Tom's son.
I also reflecting how much of an impact individual instructors can have. We had a lady in high school, Pearl Van Zee, and I can say her name because she was a single lady and long gone. But, you know, history was really dry. I went to Lincoln College, and Anna Lee Bailoff was a history teacher, and she made it come alive. Which is a difference in individuals and their instructional style and so forth. Do you suppose, Mr. Ash, that we ought to think in terms of taking a commercial break at some point in time here?
Okay.
All right. Thank you very much.